So now we are going to be talking about those lovely little creatures called termites. In our business, it's a WDI form, which means wood destroying insect, which does not sound any better, I will say. If you go to a termite website, sometimes they're going to have a form.
That's right.
That you could fill out.
That's right.
And usually it's under real estate agent or something.
That's right.
Do you want to share a little bit more about
Sure.
the form and how that process kind of goes?
So when you're buying a home, we do a wood destroying insect report. Mm-hmm. And what we as the agent does, so thankfully the seller provides this report for the buyer. So that's one test that's done that you don't have to pay for.
That's right. Yes, thank goodness.
So we, as a seller's agent, we take care of going online or contacting one of our sources that is approved by the seller. We fill out all the information that they need for the report. They need the address of the property, when the closing is. They need to know who the closing agent is so that they can get the report directly to the settlement company. So it comes off the settlement statement on the seller side of the form. And so with that report, those companies know automatically if it's a real estate transaction what needs to be done. We also send them a copy of the contract, or some of the forms will ask us if it's a FHA or VA loan.
Yeah.
But more than likely it's always standard, pretty much the same test. They look for termites, boar bees, any kind of intrusive pests that might really be causing damage to the property.
Yes.
And at that point the seller gets a copy of the report back, where it will request treatment, or they may say, hey, listen, this board in the floor joist is been chewed through. I had that happen on a really old house. And so then the seller has to deal with that. And so, you have a contractor come in, and usually with the floor joists, it's just sistering boards together. It's never anything horrible, that the seller may have to do, knock on wood.
Untermited wood.
Yes, but treatments can be costly. They can be up to $1,000 if you have things.
Because they create structural damage. It takes 5 to 6 years for a termite to completely destroy a house.
Which is not that much time.
No.
It's pretty fast for those little guys.
So I think it's also important, because I think a lot of people, first of all, the word BUG can freak out a lot of people.
Yes.
And if you do get that inspection back and it says, we did find some of the wings, and, there were some tubes, things like that, sometimes it can be very upsetting for that seller. It's important to understand the difference between an active infestation and something that had been remediated, but there might have just been some residual.
That's
there.
right.
So, I think before you panic too much, it's really, kind of important to talk to your agent about, okay, what does this mean?
That's right.
Let's interpret this a little bit more, and maybe, kind of take you off the ledge.
Yes. And if they're worried, again, great advice to give your seller, hey, why don't we have a termite inspection now? They're only good for 30 days. So usually if it doesn't go under contract right away, you're looking at another one. But $65 to $85, so that might be just good insurance on your health, knowing it's nothing to worry about. It's also good to find out, lots of people have these inspections done and they have had it treated 5 years ago, but no one ever cleaned up all the tunnels.
That's right.
So if you see the tunnels, they're going to say, we have to treat. So if you have a treatment and it's been done, it's worth getting in there and either paying them to clean them up, or you get down there and scrape them so that there's no active termite.
That's right. Radon.
So radon is a radioactive gas, and is produced by the natural decay of uranium that we find in rocks, soil, and water. And our area just has high pockets of that. So we just have to make sure You get the test if you want to know more about it, if it's affecting your house. It's invisible, it's odorless, so you're not going to know it's there. And that's one reason you want to have a test done. It's not something that we can just sniff out, like if your natural gas is leaking from your stove and you can smell that and call and get help. This one, we just don't know.
We were actually talking a little bit earlier about this, that, one of my clients was saying, oh, well, we don't have a crawl space or anything. We just have a regular basement, so we don't really need a radon test because, we've got the concrete on the floor, we have filler dirt and everything. I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Right.
And I would say, well, if you're concerned about it, then it certainly would be a good idea to get the test, but I don't think you should ever assume that radon can't exist in that environment.
That's right.
The advantage to crawl spaces, we were talking about this too, the advantage to crawl spaces is that you've got a little bit more airflow at times.
Yep.
So that may not necessarily be the reason for the radon.
Yeah.
The other really weird thing about radon here in Augusta County and the whole Shenandoah Valley is that it's kind of random. Mm-hmm. You might have one house that tests like 4 or up for radon, and then you just go, next door neighbor is like, no, I was a 2.
Yep.
And then the person down there like, no, it was like 0.12 or something.
Yep. Pockets of gas, and it's just luck of the draw of where the gas is located. So
exactly.
And there are many websites, but you can go to the EPA's website on radon, and that will give you just a national overview of what the side effects are if you're exposed to too much radon gas. But also you can go local, and I think you went to a local site, and that gives us a little more information.
Yes, that local site, you can literally click on the county that you're in, and it will give you a pie graph that tells you, the average measuring of those. So, they might say, 42% of Augusta County and Stanton has registered 4 and up, for example. Now, that doesn't mean your house has it. That doesn't mean your neighbor's house
That's
has
right.
it. Everything is contingent upon, getting that test.
That's right. And if you test higher than 4 PCIUs, then they come in and recommend a remediation system where they just come in and install some piping and drill through the foundation a little bit to get into the earth, so they can direct the gas up and out of the house and above the roof line, so that you don't have that to worry about anymore.
Yes. I hope you found this helpful today, and I also want to remind you again that Virginia is a buyer beware state. So what that means is that you need to be that informed buyer. We are here as a guide, but by no means are we experts in every single one of the 10 things that we covered over the course of these 2 videos. So please make sure that you are talking to your real estate agent, but you are also doing your own homework and you are making informed, vetted, qualified decisions. It's really important to us, and I know it's going to be